Good evening, Land Golf Academy members, and welcome back to another special edition. This is Mr. Lee Trevino, and for many of those who have not seen Lee Trevino hit a golf ball in person, I shed a tear for you. Watching that man hit a golf ball is by far one of the best experiences I've ever seen, and I've actually had a chance to play with Mr. Trevino back in 1996, just before I turned professional. And here's a couple of pictures of Lee and I where I just was taking in as much knowledge as I could as a young man playing golf with him. Seeing those shots that he hit was just fantastic. So it's one of those days I'll cherish for the rest of my life. It was a really special experience for me, and I got to see him move the golf ball left to right, right to left. He called shots all day long, and he was a lot of fun to be around. Great personality for the game. So I felt like I just put this little swing analysis video, a little quick one here, just to show you how special this man's golf swing was. We don't know much about how Mr. Trevino came into the game and his story behind working out of Texas in a cart barn and taking the top tour players' money and then actually having to close the shop and put the carts away. It's pretty interesting. But this man is a born hustler, and it really comes out in his golf. He won 6 majors, so the guy knows how to play golf. But I want you to take a look at this swing, because this is where most of us, and obviously this is different equipment. Those shafts were not as strong as they are today with wood heads, so different style, different motions. But I want you to try and emulate a couple of these things. And number one, as you know, I'm a big fan of spine angle. So if you take a look, there's his spine angle. You can see he's set up a little bit unnatural the way most of us are trying to set up. Still get that little reach of the golf ball, the golf club, but it could be because the golf club is a little bit shorter. Back in those days, the driver was probably 43 inches instead of 45, so 46 sometimes. This back brace line, let's take a look at this motion, because this is a really impressive motion. You notice how he sets up a little bit open with his foot line. This is just his style of play, and it'd be interesting to talk to him to figure out what clubs he had growing up as a kid. Obviously, this looks like a manufactured motion based on the golf equipment, so it works hand in hand. But as you'll see, he keeps sets his wrist right away. Arms go up and away, which gives it the illusion of the plane going outside to in. He never really had a plane problem. Most of us thought he had a cutting motion, but his cutting motion came from a different motion. I'll show you what it is. But sets his wrist right away. I'm sorry, the video is a little grainy, but as he gets to the top plane line, you can see his arms are matching right at that top plane line. It's perfect. Slight bowed left wrist. You can see his hands and arms are nowhere near parallel with that club face, with the shaft of the club, and he is out and away from his chest. So it's a nice wide turn. He's got his left foot coming up. That's fine. It alleviates some pressure, but he's using that more like a piston. So his first motion, his left foot will pound into the ground, and watch what happens with his spine angle. It's pretty impressive. There goes that left foot pounding into the ground, clearing the left side. That shaft, look at that. I mean, the amount of torque he's got going on here, he's actually gaining ground. Like he's creating much more room to stay down. And you'll see why from the front view. And this is what I kind of stress to all the amateurs that try and set up this way, because you have to have this special motion to do that setup. So as we come on in, as he strikes that golf ball, I mean, look at this. You wonder why he has back problems now. Look at this increase of spine angle. So now he is down here. He had to create a lot of room to get out the way to stay down on the golf ball. He is driving down with the right. I mean, look at that tilt. And he's got his tilt going this way. I know there's a lot of lines going on here, but he's increased his tilt by driving his lower body out the way, pushing even further against that back brace line, creating so much leverage and so much whip. So he keeps it on plane. As he comes through, you can see that release. Right about there, you can see the club shaft. I know that looks a little blurry, but there's the club shaft. And then it comes on back up, and look at that top plane line again. So that's why he had this strange follow through. He looked like he was turning his body a lot, but in all reality, he was tilting so much that he couldn't tilt anymore. So he had to come out of his posture and stand up, which gave him an illusion of that tilting problem. So let's clean up this bunch of lines here. So I'll be right back. All right, so from this view, I'm going to put that right brace line here, and I'm going to put the impact line up. And this video was already taken slightly in his takeaway, but he has that forward press that I want amateurs to get away from, because that forward press only does bad things if you cannot do what Lee does. So he can do it, which is why he has that forward press. But all of us that had forward presses, that premature forward press where you get the hands out in front and you're trying to press your right shoulder, don't do that, because you need to be a very athletic person to do this, like Lee was. So we take that club back. Very nice, one-piece takeaway with the upper body. He's coiling around that right hip, so he actually gains room. So we see our new right brace line. So he's actually sitting and he's gaining room. So he's just completely turned. Because he does that, that left heel comes on up. Now remember, he's going to piston it down. So that left heel is going to drive straight down in the ground. And as that drives straight down, look at that left hip is already, boom, on that impact line. So from this position here, and let me move my face out the way here. As you can see, that wrist hinge, I mean, he is holding on to as much power as he can. So he went from premature forward press to now holding on to an extreme angle with that bowed left wrist. Anytime that left wrist is bowed, that club is closed, so he cannot release it. So he's going to, from this position, he's going to just tilt and turn and push back into that, like we saw in that behind the view. And once he does that, then he can clear that right side and just come on out of it. So you'll see the upper body, the upper right shoulder, as he strikes a golf ball and comes out of it, it'll look like it's leaning over, which gave people the perception that he had an over-the-top outside in motion, but he did not. So as he comes in, look at that. Hands are going underneath. Look at that forward press. So this is as he's striking the golf ball. So again, a lot of tilt, a lot of lower right back issues that he's been facing. He's severely, and same with Freddie Couples, same sort of motion. Hands are well ahead, still connected to the center of the chest, which is almost impossible to do. He is a 1 in a million that can do it, and that's why he won 6 majors in a time where he should not have even been playing golf. As he strikes the golf ball, comes on up. Look at hands are still in the center of the chest. Right hand just released now. As he keeps coming up, now you watch that right shoulder. He's still tilting, so he's got that extreme tilt. Hands are still in the center of the chest. Comes through. Hands are still in the center of the chest. Still in the center of the chest. They haven't crossed over. And then this is what gives him that perception of, look at that. Now the right shoulder's turning so much, but it came up a little bit too late. So people always perceived he had an outside in motion, but he did not. He was always inside out. He was a very powerful person. And if you take a look, this is another interesting thing is that left leg now looks like he is leading with his feet, where tour players now, they're all on that left side, nice straight line. So he is a person that just whips around his core and just fires as quick as he can, increases his spine tilt, increases his back brace line, puts immense pressure on the back. So this is why we don't want to do this, but it's really cool to see. So the things you can take from this is always keep your spine angle. Try and keep your spine angle at impact. Try not to move left or right. Always stay centered. Feel like you're more rotational. You don't need to do extreme stuff like him, because if you do, you won't be playing golf for very long. Now, he can play golf for very long because it was his craft. So I hope you enjoy that. If you like this stuff, hit that like and subscribe. We can go over all older style players, and he's not that old, so it's kind of fun to see. Fairways and greens.